Hello and welcome back to Business Business Co. Today we're going to be discussing the factors to consider when choosing a channel of distribution. So before we were looking at all the sort of things when you got like a small business, the factors they might want to consider when they're choosing their channel of distribution, just like the benefits and the problems that will be there when dealing with retail, for example. But what about just in general the factors? So the first factor we look at is profit margin. So the more stages in the channel of distribution, the more expensive the product will be for the consumer. Each intermediary needs to take a cut of the profits. The greater number of channels, the lower the profit margin of the manufacturer. The lower the profit margin for the manufacturer will be. So if a business uses wholesalers and retailers and all these sort of things, it will either end up keeping fewer profits or charging customers a high price, making the business less competitive. You see, this is the issue. Like if you look at merchandise, like I think we set up a merchandise, merchandise website. You could buy merchandise, and it's around I think it's £5 per thing, and it's like, oh, but then they take a cut. Then you have to pay the processing fee company, like PayPal or Thinkies or like Stripe. You have to pay them fees. Although is Stripe better? I think Stripe is actually better than PayPal. But you know what I mean? This is the sort of thing you have here, where it's like, you pay all these sort of things. You have to pay all these sort of things to sell your product. Well, not necessarily. That's actually the little clue, of course, which is channel distribution. You don't necessarily need all these people, which is the thing that, of course, is the point. It's the factor to consider when choosing channel distribution. Next, you have the type of good. Expensive goods that are not produced in large volumes can generally be ordered in smaller quantities, and they do not actually need a wholesaler. So a retailer can just go, oh yeah, sure, we'll take that. It's not really required to have someone to have loads and loads and loads of the good. So goods manufactured using job production usually go directly to the consumer. This is just because it's ordered by the consumer, and it's a little bit dodgy when it's a bit. I understand why you might have a center where it's all very good for the customer. The customer goes online, goes, oh, I'm gonna order from this website I always use to get my things, and it's made by job production. It's not made by this company. This company is just an intermediary. That's all well and good, but of course job production would say, well, I'm basically having this thing. You're ordering from me. I'm making it for you. What good are you doing but connecting us? I guess it is helpful, but, for some people, just beware. Sometimes having an intermediary, it's just a bit of a problem, actually. Also, especially if the intermediary isn't very nice, all these sort of things, you'll have here. For example, some intermediaries might require you to go through particular payment platforms, or they might require you to sign up for another thing to process payments, or, to set up an account for this, that, the other. And there's all sorts of things that might end up adding to time and just all these sort of things you need to do that you might just also be a factor to consider. That's obviously an official factor, but that's the kind of thing, you might want to consider all these things just to be aware. You also have the market size. So when the volume of sales is high and goods can be stored for a longer time period, this is, for example, kind of sweets, they're generally able to just sort of store them, and they'll go off eventually, but then sometimes these food items last for years upon years, and if they're packed in certain ways, sometimes they can last far longer. You see, the thing is, it is useful to sell through a wholesaler who will break bulk. They'll store the goods and transport them to the retailers. Of course, beware. Do beware how much they're going to charge, because it's all well and good to be like, oh, you'll take this off my hands. Oh yeah, we will. Now, there may be a little bit of a problem here, because if someone, you'll see this with a particular online company, we'll call them Nile. They charge a lot of money for particular items. So particular items appear to be cheap. They appear to be on the low end, costing very little. And you go, okay, I'll buy the product then. And then you find out, delivery is 12 quid. I don't think it is though. And that's the thing. It's oftentimes you see this delivery is actually a method where oftentimes they're actually added. They're just a way for companies to add to the thing. So just be aware if you're going to do this. Just be aware of all the little charges that they're going to have to your account and and effort in a sense the product. Every business engages in e-commerce and has a large online following. Say we got massive subscribe, we can get a large online following. Yeah, well, I mean, you could subscribe, but just saying, it's helpful. Anyway, skipping the end of the video apparently. Anyway, so this would be, for example, the large number of followers a lot of big businesses have on different social media sites. This also includes traffic on its online store. It can make more profit per unit selling directly to customers visiting its website, and it can easily advertise new products online and set up a newsletter to target different segments of the market, offers, discounts and competitors. And a lot of the time you might even be able to set up a website where you can go for alternative sellers. Like even if you're not going through yourself, if I've got a website and I've got a product, I might say, yes, this small company, obviously you're not going to approach that company and buy from them, but I can tell you to go to them, and they're providing me with a service like breaking bulk, or if they're a retailer, they'll set in shop or whatever the case may be. They'll do all that stuff with delivery and all that sort of stuff. They can do with that, and it's not a big major company, and I can do that via my store, my online shop. And there you have it. So next you have technological developments. Developments in applications of phones and other mobile devices, as well as features on websites, are changing how people and where people buy goods. The rise of companies that sell items that are not wholesalers, not retailers, but agents. Means that consumers are far more likely to click on apps to order things like food and all these sort of things. You'll see these things where like companies will charge a massive amount of money to local restaurants and local takeaways to deliver their food for them. And I'm talking like there's percentages are very high. Some of these companies that are charging for things like, food delivery, just like individual food delivery, they're charging something like 30%. This is a high thing, areas that they are expensive, but they are actually methods that consumers do use, which means sometimes you have to give in to them. So online banking and comparison sites also make it easier for consumers to shop around instead of using an actual agent. So these online sites become the agent. Obviously, an example will be booking.com. It makes it easier. Well, some people would say no, but it makes it easier. Some people would say no. It makes it easier to find the right prices, maybe. But to book flights, hotels, and activities for one holiday. But the problem, of course, is they take a cut. And if you are not careful, you could find yourself, paying quite a lot of money over to these companies. And you never know how likely the person was to not buy from you in the first place. And, if you're turning away customers because you're full up, you might want to consider maybe not listening so regularly on these sites, because sometimes these sites can charge a lot. Other times they can be great, other times they can be absolutely fabulistic, but it's just be aware of all these sites, because they a lot of the time they need to make money, and sometimes they want to make a good few bucks, so they're willing to take quite a lot of money off you. And obviously that means it could be a little bit problematic for the customer. The customer's like, well, how come you didn't get that money? Oh, because this company takes a cut. There's all these sort of things, these factors to consider. A lot of the time, different companies will ask for different percentages, all these sort of things at sale. Maybe they'll have higher prices. All these sort of factors to consider when you're deciding. And obviously, you can think about this, like, for example, as I said, we've got a merchandise store, and it had, it was about £5 per thing, and then obviously you have to run through all these sort of areas where you'd have to pay these fees. And here's the thing. This means is that when you look at it like this, it means that the consumer is paying like maybe, let's say consumer is paying 20 quid for a product, and 5 of that is profit. Now, within that 5, you also have to pay, let's say, 1 quid to banks and all these other things to keep money. So that's 4 quid left. Now, within the €20, you've got your 5 quid gone, that's 15 quid. And within the 15 quid, you've got, let's say, 11 quid for the product itself, what it costs. But see, the point is, you've still got 3 quid in there. And 3 quid is a pretty excessive thing to be charging someone. And I'm thinking, okay, well, so 3 quid. 3 quid for what, though? The product costs this much, and you're saying it's 3 quid. I mean, where's all this going? And that's I think the issue is that when you're considering these factors, be aware some companies will charge different kind of things, and of course that does not mean you should choose, let's just cut out other companies and go direct, because sometimes cutting out other companies and going direct, you'll fail. That's nothing to do with you. That's just to do with the fact that if a business is selling direct to customers, it's good because it cuts out companies that aren't really providing a service, but it means the business itself might not get enough customers and it might not be able to stay afloat. And there's all these kind of things, because sometimes just having that issue of customers is a problem. Luckily, you're going to watch other videos, aren't you? No, I'm not going to get into that. No. Anyway, so if you want to watch other videos, you can, or come back another time when we'll be posting other videos all the time. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to. That'd be great. And if not, and all that stuff, I guess I'd say bye and enjoy the rest of your existence.